Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Ecosystem Aces. And I'm so excited to be talking to Nick Otto today. Nick, welcome.
Thanks, Chip. Glad to be here.
Yeah, yeah. So, Nick, Nick, you have, and I appreciate that you're taking the time here, end of quarter. I'm sure it's a busy time, but Nick is general manager and head of strategic partners for IBM. Running, some of the biggest partnerships that IBM has, I'm sure, with AWS, Microsoft, Google, Samsung, Cisco, SAP, Salesforce. That's quite a portfolio. So it keeps you busy, I'm sure.
It certainly does. It certainly does.
Well, that's great, Nick. Thank you for joining us, and let's just dive right in. Well, let's start there. I think. Tell me a little bit about what your role is and what you and your team are up to at IBM these days.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. It sounds like a good place to start. So, as you shared, I lead strategic partnerships for the IBM ecosystem. I've been at IBM for about 20 years. Electrical engineer by training. I joke often now that I still use my engineering, but I engineer different things. I work a lot with our partnerships with our clients to solve problems. But across my 20 years, I've been in consulting, technology, corporate strategy, and joined the ecosystem mission just a few years back. So really energized around, as you said, kind of the ecosystem strategy, where we are today, where we're heading, and really energized around the discussion we're having today.
So that's terrific, and I think it's really interesting that IBM has made, I think, under Arvind's leadership over the last couple of years. I mean, he kind of made a big splash, a couple of years ago, saying, "Hey, we're investing." I think it was $1.5 billion into building more relationships with partners and everything. And then, you had the announcement, the Partner Plus announcement, and it's just been phenomenally successful, bringing in new partners. I think I saw a number of about 3,000 new partners over the, just recent history. And so tell me about how that, how does that affect partners, and how's it going?
Yeah, no, that sounds perfect. I guess, kind of to that point, obviously, we've been very clear around, the importance of ecosystem in our model, the investments we're making in that space, the prioritization we're giving to that part of our go-to-market motion. So maybe I'll start with kind of the broader ecosystem, where that fits into our strategy, and then I can zoom into, as you said, the strategic partners and kind of how they fit in as well. I think we've been clear as a whole when we go to the market and talk about our strategy. There's two fundamental pieces to the IBM strategy today: hybrid cloud and AI. I think obviously the AI piece, as we talked a few minutes ago, is becoming a bigger and bigger part of that narrative this year. The good news is we've been consistent with that strategy for several years now. But I think the only way you can help clients deliver on those two fronts, hybrid cloud and AI, is the realization that no company in the global market today can succeed alone. I think together, working with our partners, we really have an opportunity to bring solutions to market faster, achieve collective success for IBM, our partners, and most importantly, our clients. And I think, exactly as you mentioned, today the role of partnership for us is more important than ever, particularly helping clients move faster, which is why we've really been investing and accelerating our ecosystem motions. You mentioned the launch of Partner Plus back in January. This was a huge change for us. It was really a simplification, a consolidation, and a lean into the ecosystem even further. When we launched Partner Plus, we actually pulled strategic partners into that same ecosystem. So you'll hear sometimes the terms interchangeably now. We introduced the IBM Blue partners, which are the strategic partners for the IBM ecosystem team. It's a really select group of leading cloud service providers, as you mentioned earlier, infrastructure partners, software vendors that we partner with across all of IBM, on the technology side, the consulting side, in many cases research, really across the board. I think those 7 names you mentioned earlier, what's really exciting is, they're some of the most recognizable tech players in the world, especially when combined with IBM. You're talking
Right.
about $1 trillion plus in global technology purchases, hundreds of millions of developers, brand value, market pervasiveness, all those different pieces. And I think what's really exciting to me is not just having relationships with these partners, but the joint selling we do together, the engineering we do together, the architecture work we do together, really to solve problems for our clients, the complex needs that continue to get more complex, with the core strategy still helping our clients transform around hybrid cloud and AI.
I love that, Nick. Gosh, I think even just that sort of approach and that attitude of as big and successful and powerful as IBM is as an organization, it's like you still can't, like, you need partners, right? There's things are invented everywhere, right? So it's really important to stay connected and have them working with you to build out the whole ecosystem and deliver value to customers, right?
100%.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, love to dive into the topic of AI. Gosh, IBM has, been on the forefront with Watson for many years, and then I know you just recently, announced Watson X. So let's talk a little bit about that and how that affects partners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think not just the topic of the day, the topic of the month, the topic of the year, but probably the topic of the decade seems to continue to be AI and generative AI. And I think we've all seen the stats over the last 9 months around the importance of generative AI. A recent study that we did, our Institute for Business Value, showed that 75% of CEOs surveyed believed that competitive advantages will come to those with the most adoption of generative AI. And I think exactly as you said, we've really been a champion around AI for a very long time now. And our focus has always been around open innovation, pulling the community together, which just really reinforces why partnerships make so much sense here. I think we have a lot of history from an AI leadership perspective. Partners get access to our capabilities. Partners have their own capabilities. I think what's exciting to me is kind of the world we're evolving towards. So we talk about hybrid cloud. We've been on that for quite some time. But I think I see on a regular basis now this hybrid AI type discussion, an open discussion around everyone wants to use technology to solve really big problems. And I think we've been very clear that our belief is an open and hybrid approach is really fundamental to that success. So different types of models, different types of compute, different methodologies. What's exciting to me and what we've done with Watson X is how does all of this come together to drive insight and add value with all of the capabilities that are out there? Of course, using our core platform, which is built off of 3 main components. We have .ai, which is our framework for driving insights, where we've got a tuning studio, we've got some of our LLMs and different pieces. We've got .data, which allows it's our data lake model that allows you to reach into different data sources. And then we have .governance, which for us is critical. We want to make sure we have a true representation of the trust and the ethics behind all of the AI, and .governance is our approach to do that.
That's a hot topic. Gosh. Just it's just interesting, the whole concept of Gen AI. I've listened to a lot of podcasts about the topic from folks that really know AI deeply, and it's just a whole different way of ordinarily, traditionally, when you're developing some kind of code, you write something in it and you're telling the computer to do something, right? And in AI, it's like, that's not really happening. It's like you sort of throw in a bunch of data and you're not exactly sure how it's going to turn out. So governance, I think, is just a really critical topic.
Completely agree. We've all heard the terms, hallucinations and all the fun new AI terms that have come out this year. And I think what's fundamental to us is no matter what the outcomes are and what the outputs are, we want to be able to understand them and learn from them. And that's kind of fundamental to our approach.
Yeah. Yeah. So how can partners participate and take advantage and plug in to those to the exciting things that you guys are doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many ways, and I think kind of starting at the higher level for us, everyone is building different types of models, taking different types of approaches, looking at the efficiency and the efficacy of all these different models. For us, kind of back to the point I was on earlier, I think our main goal is to really ease their enterprise AI burdens that come with all of these different approaches from all different directions. How do we help customers easily develop, tune, deploy enterprise ready and trustworthy AI models at scale? And back to the point, like, we don't view there's one model that rules all. There's lots of great insights that are being created from so many different players out in the market. So this multi-model approach is really important to us. I think that the large models, have shown that they're tremendously interesting and valuable in certain instances. However, what we've also seen from the enterprise is sometimes LLMs can be too large, whether that's getting a quick ROI, because obviously the larger the model gets, the more expensive the insights become. But I think more importantly, it's the targeted nature of some of these models. Back to the hallucination point, like when you ask a question to a very large model and you can't understand the response that comes back, it's because you have this tremendous amount of data, and trying to sort through all of that data to come back with a very targeted answer can be challenging. So a lot of the approach that we've taken is very much focused on a multi-model approach. How can we create targeted models to balance with those larger models that are out there, to really translate all of the excitement from the big models in the market with some of the more targeted, prioritized models for enterprise to drive faster business value? So we've built some of our own models designed for real world use cases like code modernization, digital labor. We've announced a lot of those things already. A lot more models that we're off building around these targeted use cases. And back to the point we were just on, the foundation of our models and our whole approach is really trustworthy AI. We need to understand the data we have, the insights that we're deriving. And I think what's exciting is we're also incredibly open to work with our partners who have their own models, and they're using other Gen AI platforms and other Gen AI models in general. How does all of that come together to provide next level value faster, easier, in a more productive way is really our strategy, which hits on partners kind of through and through.
That's terrific. It's and it's such a fast growing and changing, right? I mean, it's just like every week there's something new coming out, so it's hard to even sort of get your arms around what's actually happening. So it's terrific that IBM is helping customers kind of get their arms around it, especially at the enterprise level, because I think it's one thing to sort of play with ChatGPT, but it's another thing to actually build it into enterprise grade solutions for customers.
Yeah. No, I think that's what's been really fascinating is you meet with a board member, a CIO, they've all been told, I need to do something with Gen AI, and I'm going to do something with Gen AI. And then you start to kind of decompose that. It's like, well, what's the value statement? What are you trying to accomplish? What's the business value you're looking to drive? Which is where you quickly get to exactly where you were, is like, we need to take a lot of different capabilities, a lot of different models to really hone that into business value for you. And I think that's kind of an interesting learning with clients that I've worked with already, is many times this, I need to do Gen AI because someone told me to. People aren't quite thinking around the business value that goes with that. So we're there to help them.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, again, sort of bringing it back to the partner participation. I know you guys are working with partners on doing some joint development, co-innovation.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about that, about maybe some of the whatever you can talk about. I don't know if it's, maybe it's, but some of the use cases or industries where you're seeing working with partners and bringing some interesting capabilities for customers.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think as we've been discussing here, I mean, the ecosystem is so essential. Like back to kind of our desire, our strategy of investing more and more in the ecosystem. I think that this generative AI topic has just supercharged that, and you've seen that from announcements we've made already this year. As you said, hopefully right here at quarter close, some real new exciting announcements coming as well, with some of our collaborations. But let me give you a couple examples. I think SAP is one that we announced earlier this year back at IBM Think, working with SAP to embed Watson X to power their digital assistant, SAP Start, which is a capability that allows users to search across the SAP landscape using generative AI capabilities, so you can get insights back from your SAP estate, S/4HANA across the SAP estate. That's a perfect example of amazing data sources, amazing enterprise insight that comes from a platform like SAP, and then our capabilities coming in to work with their capabilities to really help accelerate that transformation. I think when I look across my portfolio, Salesforce is another great example. Worked closely with Salesforce to allow users to take open source models, train and tune those models using WatsonX.ai, and then bringing those back into Salesforce as a part of the bring your own model approach. And I think that's what's been really interesting, as you mentioned, these constant evolutions in the really quick moving market that we're in. Everyone is realizing there's so many different value sources, and how do those different value sources come together to really accelerate the transformation has been key. I think a couple other examples, working closely with other blue partners or strategic partners in my portfolio, Adobe and Samsung, working closely with both of them around what does the future of AI look like. Also working with a lot of the top consultancies and systems integrators. So we recently, with Wipro, EY, NTT Data, creating centers of excellence to give clients even greater access to generative AI skills, expertise, and capabilities around Watson X. And we on our own side, I think what's always interesting from an IBM perspective is having our technology arm as well as our consulting arm. Within the consulting arm, we've created generative AI consulting practices with targeted practices around Adobe, Salesforce, Microsoft, and a lot more to come. So kind of to your point, it's coming from all directions, and I think coming to life in all different parts of our market and all the different parts of our business, which is really exciting.
It's terrific. We actually have a question from Blake Williams, who's watching, and he says, "Any surprises or lessons learned as you're working with partners on Gen AI?"
Yeah, there's a long list of surprises and lessons learned. I think, Chip, it kind of goes back to your point, just how fast this market is moving. I think the early dialogue that I would have with clients, on this topic, kind of to the surprises point was, how do you build bigger and bigger models to solve bigger and bigger problems? I think the biggest lesson learned that I've had to date, and we'll of course keep learning as we continue through this evolution, is the bigger the model doesn't necessarily mean the bigger the insight. I'd much rather, from the experience I've had, to date working on this with clients, have a combination of models with a lot of different types of insights across different parts of my business, different subject matters, different areas of expertise, and pull those together to drive a lot more business value in a much more efficient, productive way, while of course not forgetting about the value that comes from these really large models. But how do you take those insights and combine it with smaller has been probably one of the biggest lessons learned. And a lot of the partners that I've worked with in this space, many of the ones in my portfolio are building bigger and bigger models, which is great. But one of the biggest challenges that they're faced with is the bigger the model becomes, the harder it is to influence when you reach the enterprise. So you almost imagine like having this massive model that has all kinds of great insights, across the world of information that's out there. but then you have this one small pocket of really important enterprise information that you want to influence that bigger model. That's incredibly hard to take this small, dot of sand that has influence that you think is really important to influence the bigger model. So I think that's probably one of the biggest lessons learned that I've had thus far, is just keeping, constant evolution and constant learning around how do you take all the value from all the different data sources, companies' own models, really large models, industry-specific models. How does all of that come together to maximize value for the customer is a huge focus for us.
Yeah, interesting. Well, and I love the some of the examples that you talked through with with SAP, with Salesforce, with Adobe, where certainly SAP, Salesforce, we know there are massive amounts of data that they've all accumulated, but it's not generally available, right? It's not out in the public domain. So how do you take that data for a company and then apply that, to take that power and then give it to customers to be able to get insights from it and figure out what to do.
Exactly. And it's funny because this is a point that we've been on for probably nearly a decade. The value, so much of a company's value is in their own data. And making sure that they can derive insights from their own data is still right at the core. Back to the whole trustworthy AI point we were on earlier, I think there's a tremendous amount of value that can come from generic data, getting insights from public information that's out there. But how does that then come together with the incredibly valuable data that an individual company has and individual business units within that company have? How do we make sure we protect that data, protect those insights, and then combine it with this broader data set is still right at the core of so many of the discussions that we're having today. And when you look at the big ISVs, SAP in particular, they do, to your point, companies running on SAP have a tremendous amount of data there that they absolutely believe they have differentiation around. They're not going to go share that with the rest of the world, take their SAP insights and SAP data and say, hey, everybody please learn from this. But how do you take that open, collaborative, general data, combine that with your industry and enterprise specific data to derive better insights while protecting your data is absolutely where all of our discussions are right now.
Interesting. So the other topic that you, Nick, brought up towards the beginning, one of your top priorities is hybrid cloud. Talk a little bit about what that means for IBM and how are you seeing, what are you hearing from customers in terms of their needs and how IBM and partners are able to deliver?
Yeah, no, to me, that's it's been an exciting transformation. I think when I first started to go talk to clients 5-6 years ago around a hybrid cloud strategy, what's your hybrid cloud strategy? There was a lot of people saying, well, what exactly does that mean? Now what's exciting is, you look at the marketing out there, you look at every one of our strategic partners, they're all talking about hybrid cloud. So it's been fun to watch that maturation of really learning and thinking. But what's exciting for me right now from a hybrid cloud perspective is I think every big company has realized that hybrid cloud is no longer kind of a stop along the way. It's absolutely a destination from an infrastructure perspective. I think that we've learned that there's particular types of compute that make sense in different places. When you kind of think about big industry problems, when you have latency concerns, you're thinking about edge, you're thinking about efficiency, you're thinking about existing data centers, you're thinking about incredible compute capabilities like IBM Z. How does all of this come together into this heterogeneous environment where I'm putting compute where it belongs and not just saying, I'm going to shift everything here because we have a mandate to do so. I'm going to keep compute where it belongs from a financial perspective, from a performance perspective, and really at the end of the day, from a value perspective. That's what's been really exciting. And I think to kind of supercharge that, what I've really enjoyed from a partnership perspective is being able to launch things like ARO, Azure Red Hat OpenShift, like ROSA, Red Hat OpenShift on AWS, to see the cloud providers also coming in saying, this hybrid cloud thing is really important. How can we be a part of the hybrid cloud mission and allow workloads to run where they belong and kind of be an optimal place for that, has been a really exciting transformation. And I think it's funny because so many of those narratives fit right to the AI discussion we were just having. It's like there's so many different places to have your compute. There's so much different value that comes from different types of data. How do you pull that together into this hybrid AI or hybrid cloud environment to maximize, efficiency and success and value for your customers? We're seeing a lot of conversions across those spaces.
Really interesting. So many use cases.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Terrific. Nick, maybe just, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, so much information about where IBM is and how you're working with partners around these like critical topics these days. Love to hear, maybe you have some thoughts. Just, we have a lot of partner folks in the that are our listeners. Anything that you've picked up along the way working with partners that has been kind of, really helpful in your success, that you'd want to, share or convey to other partner folks?
Yeah, I guess I'll do the typical, here's 3 thoughts type response. I think first of all is always putting the customer first. I think a lot of times, I've kind of come into partnership discussions where, it's all around the 2 partners talking to each other and forgetting about that customer. So regrounding around the customer, what's the value we're trying to bring to that end user and how can we come together to solve that is really important. I think too, and this is back to the very first point we were on, I think continuing to remember for your own company and all of your partners, the fact that, no one today is going to be successful by themselves. And I think that's just a learning. And I think it's really accelerated in the last 5 years, that there used to be a lot of companies out there that would say, we will take on all of this for you. Let us solve this and we'll go hire people. We'll go pick up skills. I think we are very much in a world today where that no longer works. There's amazing capabilities from a technology perspective, from a services perspective. How do you take those capabilities and derive value the fastest? It's by taking those different pieces and coming together to go solve a problem. And I think third, it is really this notion that we've hit on multiple times during this, is to continually innovate and continually adapt and adjust approaches when the market changes. And I think that, we at our company do that often. Ecosystem does that often because it's a fast moving space. And I think one of the challenges I've seen when you kind of look at, particular relationships, particular opportunities, is there's always someone that I'm sure you and I have both seen. It's like, no, we don't do things that way. I think what we're learning here is that we're constantly reinventing, and we need to always be thinking about what that next change looks like to make sure we can, move as fast as our customers and as fast as the market is moving.
Sure is moving fast, that's for sure, right?
100%. Yeah, it's a fast market, faster than I've ever seen in my time.
Yeah. I love those. So customer first, no one can do it alone, and always focus on innovation and creating new capabilities for customers. Love those. Those are good ones. Yeah,
you got it. I wish I was better prepared for that, but that's the quickest.
Those are good ones. Nick, thank you so much for taking the time today. Really appreciate you sharing, so much. Gosh, I feel like we could keep going here for a while, but I know you've got a quarter to get back to, and appreciate you taking the time out and sharing it with us.
No, thank you, Chip. Really enjoyed it, and look forward to following up.
Fantastic. Awesome. So thank you all for joining. And for Nick Otto, I'm Chip Rodgers, Chief Partner Officer at WorkSpan. Thanks all for joining us, and we will see you next time. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.